Hello friends, welcome to Aimin Jenny. I'm Jenny, back with another video. I've been seeing in the comments that a bunch of you were asking why I moved to Japan, among other things. So, today's video is going to be a bit different from my usual content, as I'm going to be talking about how I came to Japan and my life afterwards. It all started in 2050, when Northern and Southern Ireland were reunited and cut free from the United Kingdom. This brought up resentments from the old Troubles, an Irish civil war that lasted from 1968 to 1998. Crown-licking loyalist groups from the north side had started riots in the streets, demanding to be reunited with the UK. There was even a conflict in Ireland's hero coalition, the Irish Vigilante Brigade. Notable members such as the Lucky Coin and the Brute Shot left the brigade to form the Loyalist Hero Union. Eventually, lines were drawn once again, and thus began the new Troubles. I was only 10 at the time. My parents decided to move to Japan to get as far away from the conflict as possible. It was the only choice we had, because the other options were either Russia or the Commonwealth Alliance. The Commonwealth Alliance, formerly known as the United States, had a very high cost of living for what was essentially a cesspit. Yes, even worse than motherboard. So that was out of the question. And my dad swore to never set foot in Russia ever again after quitting Red Star. We had to find a place to live, not to mention my dad had to find a job that could sustain us while we lived there. For a long time there weren't any job listings or houses in our price range. It took us almost 2 years before we found something viable, and the new Troubles were well underway. We found a nice little house in a cosy village known as Tamashimura. Dad bought it immediately, and we began moving. Sadly, my mum passed away from cancer before we could begin the move. As a final goodbye, we held the funeral, and she was put to rest on the family plot. I said goodbye to my old friends and what remaining family there was on my mum's side, and we headed off to Japan. Making the transition from Ireland to Japan wasn't easy. Even today, Japan is still a very xenophobic culture. To be fair, it's not as bad as it was before I was born, but the old heads in particular aren't exactly fond of foreigners. Some of it is understandable. Ever since Motherboard Island was founded just off the south coast of Japan, millions of foreigners flocked to Japan in hopes of finding work or starting businesses. And with that came an erosion of Japan's culture on the mainland. A lot of historic buildings and even artifacts have been vandalized by foreigners and outright destroyed by invasive species over the years. So it's not surprising a lot of resentment has stemmed from that. It's to the point where no foreigners are allowed near any ancient historical buildings to safeguard what little is left of Japan's history. And while I can sympathise with their frustration, it's still not a justification for the outright xenophobic behaviours that the culture allows and even encourages. Kids at the village often bullied me for my red hair and Irish accent, along with the usual leprechaun and Lucky Charms jokes. Lucky Charms aren't even available in Japan outside of niche novelty shops, so I don't know how they even knew about them. And of course, years later I was told I'd grow up to be an alcoholic and various slurs for loose women because Irish people do nothing but drink and sleep around. Despite this, we did our best to adapt. It wasn't long before I met my husband, James. Commonwealth boy, adopted and raised by the Yonoike family. He was more well-versed in Japanese culture than I was, and so he helped me learn the Japanese social etiquette. Using honorifics, not making too much eye contact, learning some basic Japanese phrases. You get the gist. And he even introduced me to my favourite Japanese food, natto. James hates natto with a passion, so I always got his natto whenever it was served for lunch. Lucky me. We started dating in 2054. In fact, one of our first dates was watching the 100th anniversary screening of the original Gojira. We eventually married in 2058, and we've been happily together ever since, with 2 beautiful children. Moving to Japan gave me so much, and I wouldn't change a thing about it. And that's about it, really. Making this video was actually kind of fun. I might do more of these where I delve more into Irish history. Maybe the Azovia conflict or Ireland's involvement with the 3-month war. Could even do one about the Tomidorian conflict. But for now, I'm going to sign off. This is Jenny from Aimin Jenny telling you to aim true.